Mr. Imhotep has a pattern of calling people liars. By the end of this video, you will see that Mr. Imhotep knows the truth about ancient Egypt, but is only trying to sell it to black people to get black attention. He is not concerned about the truth, and he's just a plain old liar. In this video, I'll be using his sources showing it, contradicting it. I'll be using his own sources, the ones that most of his followers don't go and read. Many of Mr. Imhotep's followers believe that Asiatics entered Egypt during the 11th or 12th dynasty. However, if you pay close attention, you'll see that Asiatics was migrating to Egypt way before that, included into the era of the pre-dynastic era. So let's take a look at these images. What do you notice about the images of the people on the right? All of them are said to either come from Lower Egypt or Northern Egypt, and their features aren't black African. Some of these are from the 4th dynasty. So let's read this one here. It says, "This is the statue of a random scribe discovered in Lower Egypt, next to the Delta. The Delta was regularly invaded by foreign groups coming from Asia or Europe." This is from the 4th dynasty. This scribe is from the 4th dynasty. In the previous images, the scribes and priests were looked down upon. He tried to make this seem like these were just regular people of no value. Well, let's look at this 4th dynasty pharaoh, Chephren. Does he look like a black African to you? Well, let's see what Mr. Imhotep's own sources say.
After the New York Times published its op-ed piece on Domingo's work, orthodontist Sheldon Peck wrote a letter, independently arriving at the same conclusion. Orthodontists work with facial bone structure on a day-to-day basis. Wouldn't that be a twist on history? If the face of the Sphinx was meant to represent a black African king or queen.
So I do agree that yes, the Sphinx does have African-like features according to the scientists. But let's see what else these scientists say. It says the carving of Chephren in the Cairo Museum has the facial proportions expected of a Proto-European. Thus, the Sphinx is likely a facial representation of a black African, considering that the peopling of ancient Egypt derived from an ancestral mixture of Africans and Mediterraneans. This is from Sheldon Peck, 1992. These are the parts that he doesn't show his people. Egypt will not be Egypt without a Lower Egypt. And as you can see in this picture, you see a Lower Egyptian kneeling on the ground. And he looks completely different from the people above, who are supposed to be black and Upper Egyptians. But let's see, and let's show, and let's confirm that Mr. Imhotep believes that Lower Egyptians were Mediterranean types, with straight hair and thin noses. Not black African with afros and big wide noses, but straight hair and thin noses. He believed these was Middle Easterners or Mediterraneans, just like the other images before where he pointed that out.
When Narmer and his men defeated their foes, these men were erased from history. Who they were and whatever they accomplished vanished with them. All that remained is the tale of the victors, who depicted them on the palette of Narmer to commemorate their victory. And the knowledge we have of them is the one mentioned on that palette. We have their phenotype, straight hair, aquiline noses. We have the name of their location, a walled city which is mentioned here next to this man and was certainly located in the Delta because of this symbol mentioned under the falcon. It is the reeds, symbol of Lower Egypt. How old was it? We don't really know. There were numerous settlements in the Delta during the Neolithic. So, chances are that these cities grew into walled.
So what have we seen so far? So he's posted images of people from northern Egypt, the Delta, Lower Egypt, that had Middle Eastern features or Mediterranean features, not black African features. And he clearly pointed out that they came from the Delta, northern Egypt, or Lower Egypt. What else do we see? We see that he posted a video about the Sphinx at Chevron, and the writers about Chevron say that he had European-like features, Proto-European-like features, not black African features. And now we're seeing in his video that he's pointing out and describing how the Lower Egyptians looked during the time of Narmer. He even put an image there showing a person with straight hair, lighter skin. And he described them as having thin noses and straight hair, and that they inhabited Lower Egypt, the Delta area, northern Egypt again. So clearly there was these Mediterranean, European-like, straight-haired, thin-nosed people in Lower Egypt during the time of Narmer. So let's go on further and look at other sources that basically reconfirm it. So how can you say the ancient Egyptians were blacks only when there's other people there that would not be described as black according to Mr. Imhotep?
Palace of Adama. Astonishingly, despite being published 7 years prior to the Al-Busir study, it received minimal attention in the media. However, experts universally acknowledge it as the most significant site ever discovered in Egypt. The researchers found that the populations of Adama belonged to the L0F haplogroup, which is the most prevalent among the Khoisan populations residing in sub-Saharan Africa. Once again, this discovery strengthens the connection between the indigenous people of ancient Egypt, known as Kemet, and their African heritage. Undoubtedly.
Okay, so I want you to pay attention to this. Let's read this and see if it matches up. At the top it says, Sub-Saharan African affinities of modern Egyptians from Abusir el-Malek might be attributed to ancient early settlers, as there is a notable frequency of the Bushman canine, deemed a sub-Saharan trait in pre-dynastic samples dating to 4000 BC from Adama, Upper Egypt. Haplogroup LOF, usually associated with Southern Africans, is present in living Egyptians in Adama, and could represent the product of an ancient ghost population from the Green Sahara that contributed widely distributions and admixtures in the African past may not match current sub-Saharan groups. Okay, so here it says that this LOF is in modern living Egyptians in Adama. Now let's see if that's the same thing he says on his page. So here's what he says on his page though. Analysis of the mummies found at Adama revealed that they belong to the mitochondrial DNA LOF. Now, where is this study? If you click onto the links, it doesn't connect to any study at all. So where is this analysis of mummies found at Adama? I asked this on his page, his Twitter account, and he hasn't responded yet. Nor has any of his followers answered this question.